Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by National Hockey Now, Saturday, October 22nd. Ian Cameron, Alex P. Smith, Vito, who's with us on weekends. It's a full house. And back with us once again, we had him join us in the playoffs last year. Kyle Bond is back as well. Kyle, we'll start with you just to say hello. Welcome back to the Ice Guys. Great to have you.
Appreciate it. Good to be back. I think last time I was on was in the playoffs. Don't remember our results. I think they're all right though.
You did well. I think you did. I think you had a good call. And Tampa Bay was playing that day, and I know you swept the board with that. You had a good day. You had a winning day, which is more than I can say about yesterday's results, with Detroit blowing a lead for me and Colorado's offense disappearing against Seattle. But it's a huge card today. We don't have much time to talk about yesterday. I will say the one thing I got right on yesterday's show was Curtis McDermott and Jamie Oleksiak dropping the gloves in the Seattle-Colorado game. I can't believe it actually happened, because I said a fight would happen with McDermott playing and that Oleksiak probably his most likely opponent. And that's exactly what happened in that game last night. Crazy.
You know, it's funny. I've been talking about it for years. I said this, and I know there's a couple offshores that did have it at one point in time, but there should be a prop of will there be a fight in the game. You would have nailed it perfectly if you could have. If only you could have had a player prop option for a fight. That would have been a huge cash. But a great call, no less. Like you said, you know, just knowing the teams and knowing the players and seeing, you know, those are two of the bigger guys. And you know, coming up this week, we'll have some stuff that's kind of related to fighting. You know, we have our guest Jerry Rosehill coming on, and we're going to do a couple of fun things and some stuff that'll be on the Patreon page as well regarding some fighters and stuff. So, you know, like I said, great call with that one, even though the games were kind of a bit wonky, especially that Seattle, Colorado, no score first period. And all of a sudden it seems like all hell's going to break loose offensively, but still fails to get all the way over, and Seattle getting the win in overtime. So.
Yeah, no doubt. And Colorado, all of a sudden, back-to-back home losses for them. To Winnipeg and Seattle, and they're up playing tonight on a back-to-back against Vegas, so we will get to that game as well. But let's start with two games that are about to drop the puck 10 minutes from now. San Jose Sharks, New Jersey Devils. New Jersey minus 200 home favorite, 6.5 the total. San Jose, give them credit, first win of the season against the New York Rangers of all teams, who have gotten off to this terrific start, legit Stanley Cup contenders, and San Jose beats them in overtime. It wasn't the most clean game from the Rangers, a lot of turnovers, a lot of sloppy play with the puck. We'll see if the San Jose Sharks can continue to keep the momentum going, getting their first win. I'm not so sure. These bad teams, I don't trust them, you know, to string wins together. You know, that's just the way it is. Look at Arizona. You know, you play a great game against Toronto and you get your ass beat and handed to you by the Montreal Canadiens the next game. So there's no consistency whatsoever with these bad teams. It kind of feels like we could see that here. Certainly, early start time for a West Coast team on this road trip is not advantageous for the Sharks. So I have a small bet here on New Jersey in regulation, around minus 125. Devils are starting to fix some of their stuff. They beat Anaheim. They ended up beating the Islanders in a nice, impressive win in their last game, starting to at least tighten things up a little bit defensively. And if they can do that, they've got the offense. So I'm going to go Devils in regulation, just a small bet to get the day started. Alex, what about you, Sharks, Devils?
Yeah, this is one I'm going to have to pass. Like I said, this is definitely a spot where I can only look New Jersey, but I'm still not even at a regulation spot, not trying to lay that kind of a price. San Jose is just brutal right now. And you wonder, you know, as they get toward the tail end of the trip, you know, will the fatigue, will they just kind of bottom out? Of course, we'll be getting ready to, you know, back them in a spot where they're back at home, which is something we really love to do with San Jose. Historically, it hasn't always been as strong as it was maybe, say, you know, 7 or 8 years ago, which is funny because those were better Sharks teams. But with this one as bad as they are right now and this terrible form, we might see a return to betting on San Jose in those first games back after those long road trips.
Yeah, no question. Keep an eye on that. We know we're just waiting to pounce, Alex and I, with fading San Jose first game home off a road trip. They've been horse shit in that spot, horse shit over the last 10 years. Vito, what do you think here? San Jose, New Jersey.
Well, yeah, kind of guys on the same page with you. I actually look at these Saturday games very early. I start to look at them at Friday morning here in Europe. So I think that's like very early in US. So then when the lines open, and I grabbed Devils at the price in regulation, it was plus 105. So that decent, of course, is a decent price to play. Yeah, so I grabbed that one, and well, I mean, Devils, yeah, if you just look at the stats, I mean, if you look at Corsi levels, they're all the way in the top, you know. So I think the goaltending is again the problem, second year in a row for this team. You know, we saw Blackwood that first game against the Flyers. I think he could help had a better game, So, but again, now we talk about the Sharks, and the Sharks coming off a big win against the Rangers, I don't think they can put these great 2 games together. I think that was just lucky. I think Rangers were not sharp in that game. So would I play? I guess, yeah. Well, Devils in the regulation would be my play here. I think it's like minus 125, something like that. So I guess that's the way to go. Yeah.
You like a goal scorer prop? Ride Andre Palat. He's starting to, get it going for the New Jersey Devils. Last couple games he scored in back-to-back games, so I like Palat goal scorer prop for the New Jersey Devils. I'm trying to find this trend here, and I know I'll find it here at some point, but definitely I am concerned about San Jose here. This situation off a win. I know long-term the numbers aren't good. What do you like, if anything, here, Kyle? San Jose, New Jersey.
Yeah, no, I think you guys are. I'm sort of thinking the same way that you guys are. Back end of a road trip, day off in New York. Maybe had a little bit of fun last night. Early turnaround game. New Jersey's been playing well too. Their younger guys are getting a little bit more mature, and so yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be maybe sloppy as well, like those early games Saturday. So I do like the over 6.5 there. But I would say New Jersey in regulation would be the safe bet. I should probably throw out the disclaimer that hockey is not my betting forte. As an ex-player,
That's fascinating.
every
Explain that, because you played the game. You've played, you've been around the block in professional leagues for many years, played the game for many years, and yet you find hockey and you're a better in football and other sports. I know that very well, but yet hockey for you is tougher. It's trickier for you. Explain that.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, to provide a little bit of context, I'd have a buddy being like, "Hey, what's the dressing room feeling like this morning? How are the guys? Who's in? Who's out?" Giving him the inside scoop, and here we are, heavy favorites going into the game, and just get blown out. And I'm feeling good in the locker room. Team's feeling good, and so I guess all of this to say that, like, even the players don't really know what the outcome's gonna be. So I have a difficult time betting when I don't even have the inside scoop, when I did have the inside scoop and would still lose.
And so that's a great point to circulate. You're basically saying that there wasn't a lot of reading the press clippings in the room, where it's something that you kind of see what happened in football and basketball at times, where you guys didn't, a football team might have, we saw Notre Dame at the beginning of the year. They kind of went around the rally that there were 17-point dogs against Ohio State. There wasn't much of that going on at all in a given locker room, right?
No.
Okay.
I don't know. It's interesting. You'd think you would know and have a better feel of like what the outcomes are going to be, but for whatever reason, hockey it's such an unpredictable game, and like you have a goalie that has an off night, and all of a sudden you could outplay the team, shoot them by 20, and still end up losing 2-1 just because your goalie let in a couple weak or the bounces didn't go your way that night. So all of that to say, I still like New Jersey in this particular case, but that's my disclaimer.
There you go. That's okay. I have my sports I suck at. Baseball. Fucking baseball.
That's another tough one, though.
Yeah, I don't even bother with baseball.
Yeah,
love the sport, but never bet it.
I'm actually break even in baseball, but it's by far the worst sport I've had. Usually I've had losing seasons in baseball. It's actually been a better baseball season. Still sucks. Minnesota, Boston. Kyle's backyard, his new backyard. He just moved to Boston recently, the last few months. The Bruins here taking on the Minnesota Wild, minus 110, even money, both sides, 6.5 the total. This game about to begin. I like the Wild here in this spot, just because they got the first win finally. Boston has really played well, given who they've been without to start the year. Marchand, McAvoy, Carlo's been out. Grzelcyk just came back, but he had missed some time, and yet they've overcome that, and they've gotten off to a really solid start. But I think at some point, the shine is going to come off the car a little bit here for the Boston Bruins, I think, if you will. And Minnesota, I like when the team's been scuffling. They've been just, seeing the darkness, and they see the light finally at the end of the tunnel. And that was Minnesota against Vancouver. Finally get a win. Wasn't pretty. They found a way, though. I think they can build on that. And they won in Boston, I remember last year, because I think I took Minnesota and Boston last year in the Wild. Were able to get it done in that game. So I like Minnesota here in this spot, -110. And this is one where I would lean toward the over, just simply because, look, we've had an over in every Minnesota game this year. Every single one's gone over the total. So I do like the over a little bit here as well. What do you think, Alex, here, Minnesota, Boston?
I mean, I'm really high on this Minnesota team. This is my pick still to win possibly sneak to win the Central, but definitely like them to win the West this year, even though with the slow start they had at home. And sometimes, getting on the road can kind of be better when you're struggling at home. But I think coming off of that win, and the only reason they got that win, let's be honest, it had a lot to do with Vancouver not being able to hold the lead. They're allergic to leads. We've seen this throughout the season so far. Now
we don't want this game. Here you go. That's what Vancouver's been doing. Yeah.
Exactly. So now you're going on the road against the Boston team that's playing way better than anticipated, especially with the absences that they had to suffer so far. And this is an early start where Boston's used to having these morning starts. They're one of those East Coast teams that tend to get these a lot on Saturdays and Sundays. Minnesota, not so much. Their afternoon games are usually around 2 or 3, maybe even 4 o'clock local time. So this is kind of a bit of an adjustment starting the road trip. I like Boston here. I grabbed them at -$1.15. If you can find $1.10, that's good. I understand anyone taking the Wild on the opposite side. Trying to go with the current form of how they won that last game. Can they keep that momentum rolling? I just worry about that with this one right now. I think that Boston's going to be the stronger side early. I think they can take advantage of that start time and get the win here.
No, I got to give Boston credit. I never thought they'd be 4-1 at the start of the year with their schedule and with who is out, but they've done a nice job. I think, again, there's regression on the way for the Bruins. We'll wait and see on that, as apparently there's noises in Alex's vicinity right now.
It's like
Vito,
somebody outside my apartment. I don't even know what, that's like looking at the door.
Yeah, it sounded like someone fucking hurt themselves. I heard,
Yeah.
That was really weird. Vito, what do you think here, Minnesota, Boston?
Well, I think as actually Kyle mentioned previously regarding that random things, hockey is very random sport. I mean, lucky bounces and everything. And here in this spot, I mean, I always have liked actually Boston at the start of the season. Everybody was against the Boston, and I was the only one who actually was saying that Boston is still a good team. I mean, it's a dynasty. They always have been a great team. Last year, their expected numbers were pretty good, throughout the season. The problem was they couldn't put the puck in the net, And now they got Krejci back, so he's a big addition, I would say. So many good passes out of him, how many goals he can create, and how many chances he has created for this team. And I mean, they're not even a full lineup now. So in this spot, I think I'll go with the home team. If it's at the pick'em, I would go just with the home team. I think these are 2 even teams. None of them have an edge in this spot. I would say so. Minnesota also, they don't have good centers. I mean, I think centers is very important in hockey. I want to have first top 2 line centers very good. Like you have Bergeron and you have Krejci, for example. Well, Krejci maybe not as good as he was years ago, but still, I mean, better than Hartman, and who is the second line center for Minnesota. So that's why I would like to go with Bruins. I have no official play on this game, but my side would be Bruins. And regarding the over and under, this is a branch game, They usually start off slow. So let's see how it's going to go. I think it's going to start soon, so we will be able maybe to jump in with some live bet during the show.
Yeah, Melissa just said the same thing in the chat. Bruins tend to start slow in these early afternoon games. So here's Kyle now. We turn to him for this game. He's living in Boston now. He's a Toronto boy. He loved the Leafs growing up. He played in the Leafs organization for a bit, specifically with the Marlies there. And now you're in Boston, and you got all these Bruins fans swirling around you. So you're in an interesting spot right now, my friend.
Yeah, so I guess you got to take it for what it's worth, but naturally going to go with the Bruins. I think to Alex's point, it's kind of a toss-up. These early games are weird. 2 relatively even teams. I like the point about you get on the road, definitely true. You kind of get away from your family for the first time, group of guys together, you build that camaraderie.
Close enough. Something like that, as Don Jerry would say. Something like that.
Yeah. So I think there's something to be said about that, but the Bruins playing with the depleted lineup to start the season, kind of been like wearing that underdog on their shoulder. And
Oh, I think Kyle just went out for a second, but that's all right. We'll see if we can. He'll come. I'm sure the connection will get ironed out. It happens every now and then. Yeah, Matt Boldy props, no doubt about that. I think that would be the prop I'm targeting in this game, especially if I'm looking at Minnesota involvement. All right, those games are just getting underway or about to. Now, the next two games are late afternoon games. We've got Arizona taking on Ottawa. Ottawa minus 250 home favorites here, 6.5 the total in this game. Well, when you look at this matchup here, Coyotes, Senators, Coyotes get the win against Toronto. Predictably, we said we don't like this team or trust this team to put two good games in a row. They could not as they get trounced by Montreal in their next game. Will they be able to bounce back here? That's the question. The only concern I have I obviously want to bet Ottawa. I backed Ottawa twice on this homestand, won both games, cash tickets with Ottawa against both Washington and Boston. So we'll see if they can keep it going here in this game, hosting Arizona. The only thing I get concerned about is complacency and doing what Toronto did, taking this team for granted. It's the Coyotes. We could just step on the ice and beat this team. I want to see Ottawa bring it here. I've liked their effort the last two games. They totally outplayed Washington. They deserved that win. 44-24 edge and shots. A nice, impressive victory from the Ottawa Senators. Drake Batherson's off to a terrific start for them. 3 goals, 3 assists through the first 4 games. He's your goal scorer point prop guy, in my opinion, in this game. Number 1, at least, the top option for Ottawa with the way he started. Drake Batherson's had a nice start. Claude Giroux, Alex DeBrincat have 4 points each in the first few games as well. The new additions that fit in nicely with this team. So I would lean toward an over here. I would lean toward Ottawa team total over as well. Probably prefer that than the money line or the puck line because this Arizona team, and Ottawa's focus for this game, I hope it's there. It should be. I like the way they've played at home, but you never know with these teams. Sometimes they just think it's going to be easy street against Arizona and they play down. So you worry about that, but I still like Ottawa team total over and the full game over 6.5 here in this one. Alex, what do you think here? Coyotes, Senators.
Yeah, I would just lean with Ottawa team total over. That's the only thing I could play here, and even then, it's just not something that's strong enough for my card. Ottawa should be able to name their score here against Arizona. I think this feels like one of those. This screams one of those kind of 6-2 flat spots for the Oats. But as I said, there's other spots I like a little bit more, so it's more of a pass.
Yeah, and I think too last year I remember, Arizona, Ottawa, the 2 games they both flew 5-3 and 8-5. Those were the final scores. Some serious high-scoring affairs last year, Arizona, Ottawa. So that's why I also liked and leaned toward the over here with this one. We got Kyle back. We'll go to Kyle actually with this one here first. Arizona, Ottawa. What do you think?
Yeah, I got to go with the Senators in this one. Obviously, they've rebuilt their team, brought in a lot of star power, have a pretty good start. So, and then Arizona's Arizona. To your point, definitely inconsistent. They go out and beat the Leafs, but that's the weird thing about hockey, right? Like I feel like everyone's taking the Leafs in that game, and anything can happen, and that's why I don't like betting on hockey. But
the Leafs play down to their competition. I'm shocked that there's people who, in their right mind, thought, "Yeah, that's a really good idea to lay minus 400 with Toronto." I know it was Arizona, but my goodness, we know what they've done in the past. Sorry to say it, but it's true.
So yeah, I would take Ottawa, and I'm. What's the spread on this one?
Oh, the puck line. Puck line minus 1.5 is. Just see plus 100.
I was about to say probably even money. Yeah,
even money. Yep.
So yeah, I think that would be my bet if I was a betting man.
I agree with that. 2+ goal lead or 2+ goal victories for Ottawa, back-to-back home games. So they're very capable of winning by margin. Did you get involved, Vito? I know it's a high price. You stay away from these usually, but what do you think, Arizona, Ottawa?
Actually, I did get involved in another thing like with Devils. I mean, I took this early on a Friday morning and I took it Ottawa in a regulation at minus 120. So that's when it opened,
wow.
And that's when I grabbed it. Yeah, and now it's
Great
all the
price.
way down. So, yeah. So I am also going with sense here.
I like it. Good stuff, and you got a great number on it. Absolutely.
And that's a good point I want to kind of lead into briefly is when you have, we always talk about having multiple outs, multiple books, but if you have a book that has great overnight options, not just side and totals, but you can bet 3-way, you can bet first periods, I know BetMGM is one of them that has things up, a full day early. There's a couple of American books, a couple of offshore books as well. Definitely add that to your repertoire with hockey because there's a lot of value you can find. I like to bet a lot of just full game side to totals overnight. But if you have an option with first periods and three-way lines, you can get some even better value as well.
Yeah, exactly. Well done by Vito to line shop early, get ahead of the line move, no doubt. This is the last of the afternoon games, St. Louis and Edmonton. Edmonton minus 155, home favorites. How about the total now? 7. It's open 6.5 up to 7 here. But you see the Blues, they've gone over the total each of their first 2 games of the season against Columbus and Seattle, 5-2 and 4-3, the final scores. Now, both of those landed right on 7. So, that's why the moves to from 6.5 to 7 is significant here in this game. The Oilers exploded offensively against a Carolina team that was playing some excellent team defense until they ran into Edmonton in that 6-4 victory for the Oilers. One of those games where, look, when everybody's percolating for the Oilers, everybody's humming, everybody's got it going. That's what they can do with the 6 goals against Carolina. Hyman scored. Evander Kane got off the schneid, scored his first goal of the season. McDavid contributed. Draisaitl had a goal. I mean, they had all the big guns firing away for Edmonton, and that's what they're capable of when they got everybody going. How will they fare here against St. Louis is the question. Last time they played, April last year, was at a 6-5 game. I remember it in Edmonton. Back and forth it went. Certainly, I like the over at 6.5. I'm a little bit more, pumping the brakes now at 7. And when it comes to the Oilers, I mean, one game they can play really sound defense. Jack Campbell's not found his game yet, even in the victory. He was all right. He was a little bit better, but he has not really found that A-level performance yet for the Oilers in net. And when you look at the goaltending here in this game, it's probably going to be Binnington and Campbell in net, although not confirmed yet. I should point out it's Vejmelka and Forsberg, the goaltending matchup in the Arizona-Ottawa game. But this one, I like the over at 6.5. Pump the brakes at 7. Nothing for me on the side here. Alex, Blues, Oilers.
Yeah, here wait. I was gonna say, yeah, go to Vito and those guys first. I got to take a quick break.
All right, no problem. Vito, St. Louis, Edmonton.
Well, I think that 7 goals is just way too much in hockey. I don't care who's playing. I mean, Oilers or whatever. I mean, 7 goals, that's way too much. Nobody's coming out to play a hockey game thinking that he's going to allow 3 or more goals, So, only way how I would look this is actually under 7. I think it's just a high number. I think the message in the locker room for Blues will be to stop the offense from Oilers, So that's how you can win this game by having a low scoring, perhaps. And regarding the side, again, I think Blues have showed that also they won first 2 games of the season, right? With hockey is very random, So Oilers after a big win, and again the goaltending is not so sure. I just checked. I mean, it's like 5 goals against average, right, for Campbell, and then we have Binnington on the other side. So yeah, I can see this I can see Blues winning this, for example, 4-3 in overtime. Why not, So I have no official play on this game, but if I would need to play, I perhaps would go under, and I would choose Blues.
Blues and under leans for Vito here. All right, Kyle, St. Louis, Edmonton.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I mean, you got Edmonton that just has so much firepower, but then you have Jack Campbell, which there's 2 Jack Campbells, and we've been seeing the not so good one as of late. So that throws in a wild card. Like, is he due for a good game? And then you got the St. Louis team that's 2-0, which take that kind of for what it's worth. I don't think that sample size is appropriate to make any real judgments on early in the season. Obviously looks good. So I think I would almost just stay away from this completely because it's like you said last year 8-5 was the game, so just chaos. But both these teams need to tighten up defensively. So now do they play a much more reserve game? To Vito's point, they need to. St. Louis's message is going to be trying to shut down Edmonton's firepower. So are they just trapping it? So I don't know. I feel like it could turn into chaos. Could also just be a total shutdown game. And do I need to be making a call here? But I think it's a coin flip, genuinely.
Yeah, you could pass. So pass is okay on this show. If you have no fucking opinion, just say pass. Just say this
Pass.
game's. I have a guy on the NBA show. He's a great guy, Durrell, on Pub Sports Radio. You know what he says? I don't give a fuck. I don't give a shit about this game when he has no opinion on it, and he just comes right out and says it. No, it doesn't screw around. He just says, I don't have any opinions betting wise on this game. I don't give a shit about this game.
Yeah,
That's
so
what he'll always say.
That's where I'm at with this one. Could be entertaining though.
I think it's a good game to watch, but you're right. It's tricky for, like I said, 6.5. I like the 7's tough now. You're gonna need 5-3, or something like that to get the. And both teams now are going to need at least to get to 4 in order to get over a 7. That's not easy. But again, I think St. Louis still is a team I'm looking at overs with because they're more offensive. They are a team that's not that defensive team they were. They're the best offensive team they've had the last year, and this year I think they're very good offensively again. So to me, it has me thinking I want to look at St. Louis games over. And speaking of overs, got 1 goal on the board already. Minnesota and Boston. First 2 minutes of that game.
1-1.
It's tied at 1, and there's going to be a delayed penalty call too. This game's getting out of hand fast already. Pretty fun in the first 4 minutes.
Wild games, never a dull moment. There's just high event. What's that? Low event, high event hockey. That's the new buzzword these days. High event hockey in every Minnesota game. So far this year, no question about that. We got to get a defibrillator out for Terry Edelman. He's going to need one. The team keeps playing hockey at this kind of pace. All right, the rest of the games are at night. As they say, the freaks come out at night. This is the rest of the games here at night. Los Angeles and Washington. Washington minus 135, home favorite, 6.5 the total. I like LA here. Plus 115. I'm taking a chance here with them as an underdog. The fade Washington train has worked a lot of the time for me lately. I mean, we took Ottawa against Washington Thursday night. I don't like where the team's at. I still think this team's got holes in it. They've got obviously key people out of the lineup still. When you look at Nick Backstrom, you look at Carl Hagelin, Tom Wilson, and don't sleep on the Connor Brown absence. That guy's a good hockey player, and they brought him in because they thought he's going to make this top 6 even better. He's out right now for Washington as well. So there's all kinds of key personnel up front. I don't love the blue line in terms of depth. Darcy Kemper, too, is still trying to find his footing here as a member of the Washington Capitals. You look at his results here early in the new season with his new club. You're not playing, behind the Colorado blue line anymore. And it's kind of shown here so far early in the year for Darcy Kemper. Mixed results in his first few starts here for the Capitals. So Kings, the one thing about them here in this spot is they've been on the road for a while. You do worry that, they're looking forward to get home. It's already been a nice 3-1 road trip. They do go home to play Tampa after this. Will the focus be there? It's always your worry. These, and Kyle can speak to this, the last game of the road trip, dicey, because you want to get home. You're excited to get home. And maybe you don't put your best foot forward, especially when you've already won 3 of 4 on this trip. But, off the loss that they suffered in their last game to Pittsburgh, which was a bad performance, 6-1 loss, I think they want to end the road trip on a good note. And I think they're playing good hockey for the most part on this road trip, at least prior to that Pittsburgh game. And I don't trust the Capitals as this kind of chalk right now. So LA for me at plus 115. Actually, since we mentioned that, Kyle, we'll start with you on this one. Your thoughts just on the last game of a road trip angle, because I find when it's a successful road trip, I worry about the team in that spot. But if it's been a tough road trip, maybe they want to really put a good foot forward.
And on a high note, of course. Yeah, I mean, there's 2 sides to it for sure, where it's if I think you always want to end on a high note. I think the fact that it's a later game today, they get to rest a little bit. They're also coming off a loss. So I think that is going to add some extra motivation. Had they swept the trip so far, then I think you can sort of, be distracted a little bit. But the fact that they're coming off the loss, they're not going to want to go back 3-2 because now all of a sudden all that work you did at the front end of the road trip is almost washed out. So I think that'll recalibrate, they'll redial in. And to your point, missing a guy like Connor Brown, like he's just an energy guy, gritty. That definitely hurts Washington. I think to your point, Washington has just been a bit of a wild card. So I think it'll be a good game. I do actually really like the line though with the Kings at plus 115.
It's the way I see it. I think it's a close to even game. It's a winnable game. I'm higher on LA and I'm lower on Washington. That's why I'm involved. What do you think, Alex? LA, Washington.
I like this first period over, and it's a bit high of a price. I got minus $1.40. We've seen it bounce up to 150. I still would play it at 150 because of the fact that we're getting 1.5. We have to kind of do this now. We haven't really gotten to this point before, but with 1.5 and 2s being prevalent, the high prices, the high juice is going to be there for those 150s. So you kind of have to make a decision. I feel more comfortable just needing 2 goals to cover rather than 3. And also, I would maybe wait to play LA live. I think we could possibly see LA maybe, jump out and get the lead, Washington come back and cash it, or even maybe, depending if LA, if they do look tired in that first period, then maybe we see them kind of say, hey, you know what, we had a good road trip, we'll fold it in and get ready for the defending champions back at home. So I want to see how things play out in the first period. I do think we see at least 2 goals, but depending on how they're scored, maybe dictate how I play this. If we see a tie game 1-1 after 20, I might look to try to get LA at a better plus price in game rather than just go with a plus 110 or plus 115.
All right, Vito, Kings Capitals.
Well, yeah, I think again 2 even teams, and Washington looks slow. Ovechkin is not as he used to be, as great as he was, and missing some key guys as Backstrom, Hagelin, and Wilson really hurts this team, I think. And Kuzi, he's also kind of a streaky player. Sometimes he can be very good, sometimes he cannot be found on the ice.
That's right.
So yeah,
you can say it, Vito. It's my line, but you're allowed to say it. You know what you want to say with Kuznetsov. He floats every now and then. He doesn't show up every game. Can't find him with a telescope on the ice in certain games.
Yeah, takes some few days off sometimes. So yeah, and Kings coming off a 1-6 loss. I mean, that's a huge number. 1-6 loss against the Pens, and if we just remember the last year, the Kings, they were one of the best teams on the road. They surprised us when they went on this East Coast road trip. So now they're on this road trip. They again did pretty well. They piled up 3 wins, right? No, 3 wins against Minnesota, Red Wings, Nashville. Now they lose one to Pens. And in this one, it's hard. Regarding the price, I guess I would go with the Kings here. I have no official play, but I again think that these are 2 even teams. Each of them can grab a victory here, and I think the right play would be Kings just because of the value. That's what we look at in hockey.
All right, lean to the LA Kings here for Vito. All right, Islanders Lightning minus 135, home favorite, 6 the total. I don't love this spot for Tampa Bay. I'll say that right now after a big, pretty emotional, intense game last night against the Florida Panthers, trailing in the third period, tie it up, then win in overtime. Steven Stamkos has carried this offense all season for the Tampa Bay Lightning, but finally Braden Point, we've been waiting for Braden Point to get his game into high gear a little bit. It happened last night for him, scoring the game winner as well for the Tampa Bay Lightning, getting a much-needed win against the Florida Panthers. So nice performance from the Lightning. They've kind of had a shaky start to the year. The Islanders, I think, are in a little bit more of an advantageous spot off a loss to New Jersey. Didn't really play their best in that game. They got the rest advantage as well. Haven't played Thursday. Now they get to take the trip here to Tampa. And, many of these Islander players, they've been through the tough times of losing to Tampa Bay multiple times in the playoffs, in the Eastern Conference Final in years past. So I have a lean to the Islanders here. This is the first time I've considered an Islander bet this year. I lean to the Islanders here at plus 115 in this one. I haven't pulled the trigger yet. Waiting to see who's going to be in net for Tampa Bay in particular. If it's Brian Elliott, and I assume it could be after Vasilevsky got the start against Florida last night, that definitely will push me even further toward the direction of taking the Islanders here in this game. Alex, what do you think? Islanders Lightning?
Yeah, I'm right there with you on that angle. Like I said, these were some really hotly contested playoff series between these 2 teams, and we tend to see that during the regular season. Doesn't always translate over into postseason year after year. Think about Chicago and Minnesota. The Wild started getting the better hand of Chicago during the regular season, but every time they played in the postseason, Hawks ended up advancing the next round. So I think we could kind of see that kind of angle here. Tampa Bay is just not in solid form right now. And the Islanders aren't playing that great either, but they're the kind of team that can make a mess out of this game, slow things down. They're kind of one of those teams that like to have that dogfight. The 3-2 game is kind of their style. And looking at Elliott's numbers, 9-2-9 with 2.53 goals against, 22 career starts. So if he does get the nod, definitely we'll look at the Isles here on the road.
game where I don't know about the total over under, but there are some props I like. I like Dobson for the Islanders, point and goal. He's got 2 goals, 2 assists. He's been great. Really good. He keeps getting better, that guy on defense for the Islanders. Noah Dobson and Oliver Wahlstrom, 3 goals, 4 points in the first 3 games. He's a good goal scorer prop. Better value than, say, the big guns like Beauvillier and Barzal and Lee. You can actually get better odds with Wahlstrom, Dobson. I think those are good options, quite honestly, for props here. In this game tonight. I'm just checking the lines on Wahlstrom here, for instance, for the Islanders. Yeah, you can get him at plus 380, all right, in some spots to score a goal tonight. And also Noah Dobson, just to get a point, I think he's pretty reasonable here. Minus 110 and to score a goal, plus 500, for a guy that's got 2 goals from the blue line so far this year. So bargain bin specials for Ian Cameron there with the player props. I love these. This is the kind of shit we took advantage of with Nick Robertson and that joke of a line the other night with the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Great bet.
It was a great thing. I appreciate it. I mean, it was ridiculous. Top 6 forward, great preseason, getting his first game in the regular season. He's plus 550 in some spots to score a goal. You can't have that happen. Odds makers can't be caught with their pants down like that, or else you're going to get shit on. So there you go. I digress. Vito, Islanders Lightning.
Yeah, well, I would also look at the Islanders in this spot, but there is a couple of things which kind of holds me off. The first thing is that Islanders have played some weak competition, I think, at home lately. Like last time I bet on them was against the Ducks when they won 7-1, and then they played Sharks, and then they played Devils. So all of these 3 teams are
that is the sisters of the poor right there, no doubt with that. But,
not really elite teams, and now they're gonna have this Tampa Bay team coming in. I mean, Tampa of a bad start, so they need to start to put up some wins together. And I mean, a very emotional game last night. I think in the start of the game, Tampa might even be better. I think they might carry on that speed and that just an energy from yesterday's game. But maybe as the game goes deeper in the third period, maybe Isles get it back. So I think this could be actually a low-scoring game. I think under 6 could be a great look. That's what I always look at these games. I mean, these 2 teams, they usually play something like 4-1 or something like that. So I would look at under at 6. Regarding the side, I would not choose anything. I still think Tampa is capable of winning this game, even of a back-to-back situation early in the season.
Yeah. So Vito still says a little class difference in his opinion in favor of Tampa Bay, even with the spot maybe not in their favor tonight. All right, Kyle, how about you? New York, Tampa.
So I'm going to go New York. Sort of following the same logic. I would say the one caveat to that, I do think Tampa's going to come out strong. You come off that big emotional win last night. Legs probably going to be feeling all right. And I think as long as New York can keep it kind of tight early on, Tampa will probably get a little tired. And the reason why I do like New York, they're coming off a tough loss. And so you got to think that they're going to show up with a similar type of energy to sort of rebound from that. They're going to be playing – it's a gritty game. They're on the road playing a top team over the last 3 years. So they're going to show up. As long as they weather that initial push from Tampa, I think the longer that game remains close, it's going to be much more in New York's favor. And with the way the line is, I would take New York.
All right, liking the Islanders, Kyle, in this one. And Tampa props, I mean, to me, it's Stamkos for sure. If you're going to bet any Tampa props, 7 goals, 2 assists for him. And now maybe Braden Point as well, that he started to get things going last night against Florida. I mean, those are the 2 guys right now. Not getting a whole lot of secondary scoring from the rest of the lineup at the moment. Penguins, Blue Jackets next up. Pittsburgh minus 160 road favorites here, 6.5 the total in this game. Pittsburgh, it looks like just a little bit of a development here this morning. Jake Gensel ruled out for the Penguins tonight. So a big loss for them, obviously, offensively. So there's going to be some shakeup in the lineup combinations tonight. You're going to see now Danton Heinen moving up to the top line with Sidney Crosby and Ricard Raquel. That is expected to be the top line. So you know what that means. It's the Ian Cameron angle. We got a guy moving up top line. Danton Heinen's a prop to look at tonight in this game. Top line minutes with Crosby and with Raquel. And you're playing a Columbus Blue Jackets team that's been leaking goals, early in this season, a below average defense. Merzlikins and net has been inconsistent. Now, they did win their last 2 games. They still gave up 3 goals in each. They gave up 5 to St. Louis. They've gone over the total in every game. Pittsburgh's gone over the total 3 of their first 4. It's over or past for me, even with Gensel out. Could only look over the total in this game with the way these two teams have been trending. But I think when you look at it, Danton Heinen moving up to that top line, you're going to get some decent value with him with his prop with this move up the lineup. It looks like his pricing here to get a goal is upwards of plus 350 for a top line player to score a goal tonight for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Again, with Crosby playing alongside him. So that, to me, is a pretty good value look there. As far as Columbus goes, even without Patrick Laine, you've still seen them offensively get things rolling the last 2 games at home against Vancouver and Nashville. 9 goals in the last 2 games combined. They've gotten some other players to step up for them on the offensive end of the ice, led, of course, by the big offseason acquisition, Johnny Gaudreau, 4 goals, 6 points already for him. It's been a solid start to the year, no doubt, for Johnny Hockey with his new team. Making up for the absence of Patrick Laine, who's still going to be out for a long period of time. You've also got Danforth, Nyquist chipping in, but really it's been Johnny Gaudreau stirring the drink here for Columbus. So I'm not going to get involved sidewise in this game. I mean, Columbus, I give them credit. They've been good at home. If anything, maybe a lean to the Jackets a little bit, but just a lean here. I prefer the over, and I like the Danton Heinen prop. That's really what I like most of all in this game. Alex, Penguins, Jackets.
Yeah, I'm liking the overs here too. Like first period over 2. They're able to grab that at plus 110. But I also like Pittsburgh over 3.5 of the team total, minus $1.20, $1.25. 6 has been the lucky number for Pittsburgh so far. 3 wins, and they've scored 6 goals in each of those 3. They dominated against Columbus. One of the last 4 matchups needing at least 3 or more goals in each of those. And you look at Merzlikins' numbers against Pittsburgh in his career, 0-3 with a 4.18 goals against, a 902 save percentage. So the Penguins usually always get geared up for Columbus. It's always that Ohio-Pennsylvania rivalry. I think the Penguins get fired up on the road here. So I like them team total over, and I like the first period over 2 at a plus price.
There you go. It looks like Boston's just taken the lead 2-1 on Minnesota. So a lot of goals early in that game, early on with the Bruins and the Wild. Vito, what do you think? Pittsburgh, Columbus.
Yeah, well, I think also I would lean with that over here. And regarding the sidewise, well, Columbus is playing Rangers tomorrow on the road. So I think that's the place where you can definitely fade Columbus. Rangers of a loss, right? So Columbus in the back-to-back situation. So tomorrow could be a fade for Columbus. I think they might give everything out tonight against this Pittsburgh team. So over, I think, could be a look here. I would not jump straight away on the regulation. It's still the first road game. So they've been at home, for pretty long, a lot of games. And now the first game on the road. I don't think it's always easy on that first game on the road. And this is going to be a long road trip for Pens. They're playing Columbus now. Then they're going to play Oilers and Calgary on a back-to-back situation. And then they're going to have 2 days off. They're going to play Canucks and Seattle. So, yeah, it's going to be a long road trip. They definitely want to start it off a good note. So I think this is a pretty hard game to handicap. I think the best way is to go with over in this game.
You know what? I'm doing it. I'm taking Columbus here, plus 140 plus. I'm doing it. I'm gonna pull the trigger on this. Enough him and Han. Shit or get off the damn pot. I'm doing that. I like Columbus here. Look at what they've got coming up. Pittsburgh, Edmonton, Calgary, big games, big opponents. Those are huge games for Pittsburgh. They got a game on the road in Columbus. And remember, they've only played 1 road game this year, Pittsburgh, in Montreal. What happened? Lost. Blew a lead. Lost in overtime. So, to me, Columbus, I think the spot-wise, it's a really good one for Columbus here. Really, and they've played well at home here. Now, you could say Vancouver and Nashville have issues, have flaws. There's no question. But they won both of those games, come back to beat Nashville. I think this is doable for Columbus. And it's a little rivalry here with these two teams. So I'm going to do it. Columbus, plus 140, plus 145. Taking that shot with the home dog here. Kyle, what do you think? Pittsburgh, Columbus.
I get it with the line, but I don't know. I think I just see Pittsburgh they've come out of the gate strong. They look like the old Pittsburgh Penguins. And then had this been a situation where it wasn't this big rivalry game, I would feel more comfortable. But given the Ohio, Pennsylvania, that whole dynamic Saturday night, both teams are going to show up. And I just think Pittsburgh at the end of the day is the better team, but it's a weird line, or it's kind of an aggressive line where I don't know. I guess it depends what your risk levels are. But if I were taking somebody, it would be Pittsburgh. Don't love the line, but that would be the direction I would go.
I would say for someone in my shoes who's got like 60 bets spread across multiple sports on this crazy Saturday, yeah, my risk level is pretty high. Pretty high. Although I will say, even though I'm high volume, I keep everything in the same unit structure, lower units, high volume, low amount, low units. That's the way we do it. We just try to grind out a profit. I'm not looking to go big on one game or one bet. I'm looking to just pepper the board because we like a lot of things, and we just try to scratch out a profit. That's what it's day by day. That's what it is. It's the long term goal. So. There's a couple dog spots, and this Columbus one appeals to me now the more I think about it. And it's just you hope their defense and their goaltending holds up, because when Pittsburgh gets the offense going, even without Gensel, they've got enough. So offensively, so that's going to be the question. Speaking of dogs, we've got the Montreal Canadiens hosting the Dallas Stars here. Dallas minus 170, road favorites, 6-12. Look, they're 3-0 at home, and I think this young team is going to play well in front of the Bell Center faithful. They play with good energy there. You saw against Pittsburgh, there was no quit in their game. They were down by a couple of goals. They came back and they won against Pittsburgh. I think Dallas will level off a little bit at some point. Maybe that Toronto loss the other night in overtime will be a sign of that. A great start for Peter DeBoer and the Dallas Stars. And obviously, I like their top six with Jason Robertson, although his little brother got the best of him the other night. Joe Pavelski, they've got a good top six. Rupe Hintz. I like what I see from the Dallas Stars up front, top six. But, Montreal it's been a really, really hard trying, tough out at home. Cole Caulfield in the offense, especially him, have been rolling at home. I like Cole Caulfield goal prop once again tonight for the Montreal Canadiens. Jake Allen's been solid enough in net. And you look at their home games, beat Toronto, and again, they beat Pittsburgh. In their last home game, this Montreal Canadiens team. So, I like the way they played on home ice. And obviously, they throttled Arizona after beating Pittsburgh. So 3-0 at home, good price with them. I think home dog is the role that Montreal is going to be fairly profitable in these kind of spots. Dallas continuing this road. They are off a loss, so Dallas shouldn't take Montreal lightly. But I like Montreal here at the price. 3-0 at home. All as home dogs, or actually one was as a home favorite against Arizona. But I like Montreal here. Take another chance. I've been looking to bet this team as home dogs this year, especially the Pittsburgh game. I jumped on them. I'm going to do it here as well. Alex, Stars, Habs.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic, because especially when you're looking at the numbers for the goaltenders, Jake Ottinger in 2 starts has not really fared that well against Montreal, the 4.41 goals against. But Jake Allen, who spent most of his career at St. Louis, his numbers against Dallas have been red hot. 11-5-1 with a 2.24 goals against, a .918 save percentage, and 3 shutouts in his career. So he's familiar with a lot of the core players on this Stars group. And this just seems to be kind of one of those back and forth battles. Don't want to lay 170 with Dallas, even though on paper they look to be a better team, but it just may be a spot to back Montreal. And when you look at the history, 3 of the last 5 meetings have gone to overtime. So I would take a shot here with the draw. Looking around, you can find that around plus 340. I think we can see this one go past 60 minutes.
Kyle smiling. Yeah, Alex is the draw man. He's the draw machine, the draw king. And it's good. I mean, all it takes, get to overtime, and there's a plus 350 winner on some of these draw bets. And there's going to be some spots for those definitely over the season. Vito, how about you? Dallas, Montreal.
Yeah, well, Dallas, Dallas is definitely a team which I would like to back more at playing at home. I don't think they're as good as on the road as they are at home. And yeah, they should be better because just coming off a loss after the Leafs. But I don't think they will come here in Montreal and dominate this game and end up winning 5-1. I don't think it's going to happen. So I think it's still going to be a close game. So if it's going to be a close game, I will take a shot, I guess, with the Canadiens here at plus 150. I have no official place on this game. But yeah, the way the Stars play, I mean, each game they play close, That doesn't matter who they play. And especially being on the road, I think this is going to be a close game. And yeah, I think the value is with the Canadiens here. They're running a 2-game winning streak, I mean. But again, after a big win, 6-2 against Arizona, you could have some concerns with this Canadiens team, So still, I will come up with I definitely will post my bet on Twitter regarding this game. We still have time. It's an interesting game. I mean, either it's Canadians money line or Stars regulation, but how the Stars play on the road, not sure about them if they can make this done in regulation. So I have no official play on this game.
All right,
I just have my thoughts.
All right, no official play on this. By the way, the Dallas Stars, 3 straight unders to begin the year. Actually, the first game was a push on the 6 with Nashville, but they've actually trended under the total. I don't like the idea of going against Jake Ottinger. He's a great goalie, but I'm going to tonight with just because of the price is so good on Montreal. Kyle, what are you thinking here? Stars Canadians.
Quick question. What's the prop with Mason Marchment?
Good thought. Very good thought. That guy's obviously always someone I'm interested in from a prop standpoint. By the way, Uri Slafkovsky, the number 1 overall pick, is out for this game. Upper body injury. He won't play. He's been pretty quiet other than scoring his first goal the other night. He really hadn't done a whole lot, but he will miss this game. To answer your question, Kyle, we've got Mason Marchment to score a goal tonight. Upward, you can get as high as plus 260 with that. We know he's off to a really good start.
So I do like that. He's my boy from back in Toronto. So shout out to him.
I know with the Marlies, you played with him. Yeah, that's right.
And we worked
Sheldon
out.
Keefe was the coach. Yep.
Yeah, there you go. So I hit him off to a good start. I mean, Dallas just coming off that tough loss to the Leafs. They're on the road. They're going in against what should be a weaker team. You got to expect them to rebound. Overall, they've had a really good start as well. I think anyone playing hockey is going to get up, regardless of where you're playing, where you're from, when you're playing at the Bell Center. Like, it's fun being on the road there. So, I see now the problem, obviously, is the line. So my question would be, what's the spread here?
Oh, the minus 170. Oh, yeah, the puck line, you mean for Dallas?
Sorry, yeah.
Puck line for Dallas is minus 1.5 plus 160.
So I would actually find that interesting. I think that would be the bet I would take in favor of Dallas. Again, it's like the same situation as the last game we were just talking about, throwing down 170. Or taking them at 170 would be, I think, a bit of an aggressive bet, but
good value. Yeah. Well, minus 170, yeah, that would be a little too risky. But yeah, that's what the puck line and the reg line is for. Because for me, my cutoff point, I've said this for years, is minus 150. If it's more than minus 150 on a favorite, I want to bet them. I look at regulation or puck line at that point.
And even minus ones that are available at DraftKings and BetMGM, that sometimes can be a good option too. I mean, obviously you get the one goal you push, but and with the last few years we've seen a lot of these teams miss these empty net goals. That hasn't been the case so far this year, but going back the last 3-4 seasons, that was a real issue. So a one sometimes isn't a bad way to look at too, rather than get yourself off that hook and take the push in case those empty nets don't go your way.
There you go. Yeah, Dallas minus 1, minus 105, by the way. So there you go. That would be Dallas minus 1.
Yeah, it's too, like, anything over 150. I think it's just crazy with the randomness of hockey.
Yes. Definitely. And the fact that any team like Arizona, like, you want to lay more than minus 150 and 200, 300, 400 when you see Arizona beat Toronto,
right?
Like what happened earlier this week. It's a perfect example. I mean, you're going to just blow your bankroll, just big time doing that on a routine basis.
My cutoff. And like I said, it'll be like today, I have a rare 150 that I lean with on a first period total, but I probably won't bet another total in that range for another, month. Potentially, my cutoff is 140, 150 on just about anything. So.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Good sage betting advice to manage your bankroll long term in a sport like hockey. What we're delivering right here on the Ice Guys Show. Yeah, hit the like button. Over 150 live viewers. We're doing pretty good. I figured this show would be a little over an hour, and we've only got 5 games left, and we've gotten through with 4 people on the show, so we're doing good in terms of time. Toronto, Winnipeg next up. We've got Toronto minus 170 road favorites, 6.5 the total in this game. Wow, what a move toward Toronto. This opened minus 130, believe it or not, in some spots, and it's minus 170 now in this game. I'm not laying this price now with the Leafs. I mean, I could see it. I could see it initially, and Winnipeg's coming off back-to-back on the road Wednesday, Thursday against Colorado and Vegas. They beat Colorado in Denver, and then predictably they fall flat the next night against Vegas, especially with Big Civ Dave in net, Dave Riddick. You figured, hey, it's not going to work out too well for Winnipeg, and that's exactly what happened. They lose 5-2 in that game. But now they return. Oh, it's a tricky spot here for Winnipeg. They've been on the road now for 3 games in a row. This will be their 3rd game in 4 nights. It's not a great spot for Winnipeg. I get it. That first game back home, even though it was just a small road trip. And the Leafs are looking to get some consistency in their game. They're looking to build off, getting back on track after the Arizona win, beating Dallas in that game by a score of 3-2. It looks like Connor, a good goalie matchup. Ilya Samsonov is 3-0 as a starter this year for the Leafs. So he's been good. He's been solid in net. He's given them good goaltending. If you listen to any of his post-game press conferences, he's a funny son of a bitch, too. He's got hilarious shit he says after the game. He's like, after the last game, if I put my Russian accent on, it's like, oh, I feel pretty good. He smiles everywhere, he says, for the team. He's like basically feeling good. He says, smiles everywhere with the Leaf team. And, yeah, they're smiling, obviously, after getting back on track, beating Dallas. And he's quite the listen, actually. He reminds me of Brizgalov a little bit, little loony, little off the wall with his and Russian, of course, as well, just like Ilya Brizgalov. But cool listen, Ilya Samsonov, when you hear him on the post-game press conferences. But yeah, Toronto I liked initially. Now it would probably be, if you want to bet them, I'd have to go in regulation now. I might throw a couple bucks on them in regulation just for a small play here. And the line with that looks like right now is around -105 to -110 with Toronto in regulation. That's not a bad look. They certainly have the better spot here with Winnipeg on the 3rd and 4 nights with travel. Lean over as well. But the one thing I'm going to come back to the well with, guys, is Nick Robertson again. I mean, he stirred the drink for Toronto the other night. Matthews, I'll tell you what, Matthews and Marner did dick all the other night against Dallas. It was Nick Robertson that was getting the job done for the Leafs. He gave them the lead. He broke up the play with Jamie Benn defensively and then goes down the ice, scores the game-winning goal. It was a terrific debut for him. And, slowly but surely, you're not going to get the prices that we're going to get with Nick Robertson initially. And they've already made a significant adjustment. We got +500, +550. Do you know what the best I see tonight is? +360. So they've already made a little bit of an adjustment, but it's still a great price at +360 for Nick Robertson to tally again for the Leafs tonight. Alex, what do you think? Leafs Jets.
A slight, not so fast, my friend. I get where you're going with looking at Toronto. Obviously, you want the regulation price over the money line price, but I think now with this line move, we actually have some value here on the draw. And I think Winnipeg, like I said, 3rd game in 4 nights. I think they're going to slow things down a little bit. Obviously, a much better situation with Hellebuck in net than David Riddick. This feels like it could be one of those tight games. It feels like
no shit, Sherlock.
on surface, it feels like where the Leafs should win this game 5-2. And what do we see them do in these games? They usually end up kind of squeaking out, maybe winning it 3-2 or losing 3-2. But this definitely has an overtime feel to me. And at high as 370 now on the draw, I'll take a shot with that.
All right, liking the draw here. And it could be a tight game. I think the Leafs and the Jets have played some tight games in the past. Not recently, but they did have some a few years ago. I will say this, though, about Winnipeg. You're right. They do have a few. Ehlers missed the last game against Vegas. He was a late scratch. He's on IR. So it looks like Ehlers isn't going to be available for at least a period of time. Won't be back until October 27 at the earliest against LA. So Ehlers will miss some games here, it looks like. Vito, how about you? Toronto, Winnipeg.
Yeah, well, I think this number is way too high. I mean, I don't care who you're playing and how. And I mean, Jets is not as that bad as I think the number is. I understand the spot is not good, but still they are at home. It's not like they're on the road. And I mean, the Leafs is the team, I guess, which is not like a big team which plays good at home, right? I think that away or at home, their record is pretty even. I mean, they could have some bad games at home. They could have some good games on the road and vice versa. So, yeah, I understand maybe the line here. And I mean, I would agree with Alex. I mean, the line has moved so much to Jets side that even with all these logic things in hockey, like coming off a road and the Leafs has a better spot. I mean, I think this could be a close one. I think Jets will get up to this game. And I think if Alex is liking the draw, you could go with the Jets money line a bit +150 as well. I mean, I think Jets has a chance to win this game. I'll not pull the trigger yet here, but I will definitely update on this game as it gets closer. But yeah, as of now, I would actually price wise look at Jets here.
I believe this is also Rick Bowness returning behind the bench tonight. I'm pretty sure he's back behind the bench for the first time because he's been out with a COVID-19 positive test. So this will be his first time as a Jets head coach. Yeah, Mason Appleton's been on the top line for the last couple of games there. C-Lane in the chat mentions it. I took a shot with the prop the other night. Didn't come through. They were flat against Vegas. I would come back to that tonight. Mason Appleton prop. I wouldn't mind looking at Cole Perfetti as well for Winnipeg, who found the scoreboard earlier this week. And you down with PLD? Yeah, you know me, Pierre-Luc Dubois. I think definitely he's worth a look for props tonight as well. It's been pretty good the last few games for the Jets. Kyle, what about Leaf fan growing up? What do you think of your squad here tonight, Toronto, Winnipeg?
Well, I think they've been having a real tough start, to say the least. But I don't know. You get the big win over Dallas. Dallas is undefeated going into that game. They're hopefully starting to feel a little bit better about themselves. I like the Leafs. I like the Leafs in regulation. I don't know. I feel like they're due for a game where they kind of actually like dominate. And I think Winnipeg has just been struggling 5-on-5, and typically that's where the Leafs are best. Now, to Alex's point, the Leafs just always find a way to play down to whatever team they're playing. But they do find the odd game where they just dominate. And I think this could be it. Now, the one caveat, if Hellebuck is in and plays the way he can, regardless of how dominant the Leafs are 5-on-5, that might make it a little bit more interesting. But I don't know. I think the Leafs are due for a breakout game. I think this could be it. With the struggling Winnipeg depleted lineup.
All right, so I'll look toward Toronto in regulation as well for Kyle with the Leafs and the Jets. All right, Philly, Nashville. Nashville minus 220, home favorite, 6.5, the total in this one. For a team that I despised coming into the season, for a team that I took to have the worst regular season record in the NHL, that being the Philadelphia Flyers, I am not totally backtracking and backpedaling here, but they've impressed me more. Like even in the Florida loss the other night, like that was a brutal spot. Back-to-back in Florida, they upset Tampa Bay the night before, and there they were, still battling right till the end, and they got that late goal, made it a one-goal game. I mean, the work ethic and the compete level and the work ethic and the attention to detail that Torts has already got from this team has been impressive. They're going to have to do that every night, though. They're so outmanned talent-wise against a lot of other teams that this is the kind of work ethic. They got to outwork teams if they're going to win. That's what it's going to have to be. But I'm going to take a shot with Philly tonight at +1. Nashville's in a bad spot right now, bad way. I don't like what I'm seeing. I'm seeing them cough up leads twice now. They've done that this week, twice. Los Angeles and then against Columbus in the last game. They're not protecting leads. They're breaking down in defensive coverage. You know my thoughts on John Hines as a head coach. I don't think he's that spectacular. Scotty Bowman reincarnate, he is not. So to me, this is a situation where Nashville's just too heavily priced here, in my opinion. Minus 220 here in this game with a team that's not holding leads, a team that's 2 victories this year. Think about this. They're only 2. They've lost 4 in a row. Their only 2 victories were in Prague, Czechia against San Jose. I mean, 2 wins against one of the worst teams in the NHL. That's what you've got on your resume so far this year. I don't like what I'm seeing from Nashville. I don't like that sometimes, guys like Duchesne and Johansson don't always play well away from the puck. That bothers me as well. There's a lot of issues right now with Nashville. A lot of issues for a team laying minus 220. That's all I have to say. So I'm going to take a stab here with Torts and this hard-trying Philly group +190 tonight. Alex, Flyers, Predators.
Yeah, I understand you taking a shot price-wise. There's good value in the number, but I think that's just about it. I think the Flyers started to come crashing back down to earth a little bit. Definitely not going to lay a big price with Nashville. And I just, like I said, looking at series history here, Philly hasn't played well in Nashville. You wonder, Nashville's one of those places, Kyle mentioned about, teams being in the New York, New Jersey area. Nashville's one of those places where, teams there a little early, maybe they have a night out, maybe they're a little bit rusty early in the game. So this one's a clear pass for me with as far as price and total wise. I would probably look to lean slightly over because Philly is playing with a little bit of intensity. Obviously, they want to be more defensive minded, but I think they can maybe find some ways. They're at least the transition game has been fairly well. They aren't just getting, they're just like grinding everything down to stone. And I think Nashville, they like to play a bit more up tempo, especially at home. Maybe that opens up the prices and the offense for Philly a little bit. So a lean to the over, but I'm not going to make a bet on anything here in this one.
Yeah, Nashville is telescoping, as in you can't find many of their players, and you can't find many of them with a telescope right now on the, especially in the third periods of these games. Holy shit, that's third period collapses, 2 games in a row for the Nashville Predators. So there's issue. Travis Konechny, I wouldn't argue with that. C-Lane, he's been Great, and he's fit in. Torts is raving about his game. He's producing offensively for Philly. I don't mind that prop look at all. Vito, what about you? Philly, Nashville.
Well, yeah. In this game, I mean, Flyers, from the start of the season, I mean, I've been backing some Flyers. I backed them against Devils, and I backed them more games. I played actually under against the Panthers, and that goal actually lost my bet when they scored in the last second because I was on under 6.5. But I mean, it's sometimes all about the coach, and what's happening in the locker room. I mean, and that pushes the team to go forward. And again, in this spot, I mean, they've been on the 2 tough road games in Florida, right, and in Tampa, and now they go to Nashville. And if we just look at the Nashville, I mean, we have to expect that we will not see the same thing happening all the time. I mean, I think Nashville is still a better team than they have shown in these last games. I mean, these last 4 games, which they have lost. Maybe that's kind of a hangover after this Europe trip, I mean, and so on. I expect Nashville today to come out and show what they are made of. I mean, it's a tough venue to play at. We all know that it's hard to play in Nashville. And I took a shot with them yesterday in the regulation when it was minus 105. I took that price, and now it's at minus 120. So I think would recommend to take Nashville here in regulation. I think just Flyers been great of a start, but I think just Nashville will get everything here tonight to beat this Flyers team. I mean, they have to start to put up some victory. So if this is not the spot, then I don't know when is the next spot, So this is the spot for Nashville, and I will take them in regulation.
Yeah, you would think they get focused for Philly. And is Philly now going to go back the other way, regress a bit after the hot start now that they finally lost one? That remains to be seen. But I'm still okay with taking my shot with Philly just because of where the price is. And we're going to dare Nashville to get go. By the way, they're 1 for 26 with the power play this year, Nashville. 1 for 26. That was a team that was top 10 in the power play last year for Nashville. So far, firing blanks this year. What are you thinking here, Kyle? Flyers, Preds?
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna like Philly. Ian basically sold me on Philly. I was like, all right, man.
I watched them lose 6-1.
I mean, Torts is I think everyone kind of knows his reputation as a coach. And I think he's come around to be more of like a player's coach, still has that hard ass side to him, but it seems like in Columbus the players respected him, especially when he was first there, and like he was running with a team that maybe was overachieving, and obviously the guys in Philly are responding. They have that traditional Broad Street Bullies theme, and obviously work really hard, and they've been finding ways to win. Now, with that being said, at the end of the day, Nashville is just a better team on paper. So at what point do they just flick that switch and start playing and performing how they're supposed to be and what they're – but until that remains to be seen, I think it's really difficult to bet on them, especially on a line like this. So I don't know. I don't really like the numbers either. If I had a gun to my head, I'd probably go Philly in regulation, or same bet that Ian took, just because
Philly money line. Yeah.
All
right.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't like it.
Don't like it, but lean Philly. I get it. I mean, Philly, I'm walking into something where they could be getting Nashville's best tonight, and they get trounced. And maybe Philly's going to level off with after that first loss they suffered against Florida. But you lost to a very good Florida team, and you played Tampa before that. I just thought plus 190, a good enough price against a Nashville team floundering. We'll see. Speaking of floundering, how about Colorado? 2 losses in a row at home to okay teams, but not world beaters, Seattle and Winnipeg. And now they go on the road back-to-back here, taking on the Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas, minus 125 home favorite, 6.5 the total. You know what a stat I'm going to trend track this year is? What is Colorado's win-loss record when they're an underdog this year? I want to know if they're a winning team when there won't be an underdog very often, but when they are, what's their record? We've seen them an underdog once this year, and it was on a back-to-back in Calgary after playing at home the night before against Chicago, and they lost that game, and they did not play well in that game. Now, Calgary is probably a little bit better than Vegas, but it's something to keep in mind. The point is, I think there's a reason Vegas is favored here. They got the rest advantage. Colorado's kind of slumping a little bit, 2 straight losses, back-to-back now for the Avalanche tonight. And for Vegas, is this game probably, I would think, triple circled for them because they want to get to where Colorado has been last year. So you'd expect the Golden Knights to really want to get a victory here. 5-2 win for them after losing their first game of the year to Calgary. No shame in that. Obviously, Flames are a good team. Jack Eichel's playing better. It looks like he's healthier now. Marchessault's gotten, John Masserole, as Don Cherry would say, Jonathan Marchessault. He's gotten off to a great start this year for the Golden Knights. So I'm not betting the game, but I understand why, if you like Vegas, they may be worth a look here. I mean, and I don't want to make too much of one guy being out, but one game without Devon Taves last night, who didn't play for Colorado, that movement and that transition game offensively was not as good for Colorado. Like, they had a hard time getting the offensive push started in a lot of that game against Seattle last night. I thought they were just a little out of sync offensively. Weren't able to get that puck moving north-south like normal. And Devon Taves a big part of that, playing with Cale Makar. And without him last night, it just didn't look the same. So keep an eye on this injury. And his day-to-day, he's probably going to be out again tonight for the Avalanche. Maybe that's going to be a bigger deal than we think for the Avalanche moving forward. By the way, they're putting Martin Kaut, someone they feel very good about, on the second line tonight for the Avs with Comfer and Valerie Nichushkin. So Martin Kaut might be your prop value tonight if you're the Avs in this game. Alex, what do you think here? Colorado, Vegas.
Yeah, this would be a slight lean to Vegas. Like I said, Colorado just, trying to kind of round out in their form. And we talked about it at the beginning of the year that, the Stanley Cup hangover, it seemed to possibly be a real thing with this Colorado team early on. Still trying to find their footing with the goaltending issues, Francouz and Georgiev. And I've heard numerous people debate about who's better than who. And like I said, it's really not a matter of who's better than who. It's just who's playing well at the right time. This is a 1A, 1B system. That's what Colorado ran with Kemper and Francouz last year. So they're not looking for somebody to step up and steal the show and be the number one goalie right now. They want that in March and April when it counts. Right now, they're just trying to just get a feel, rotate guys and see how things roll. But like you mentioned, Vegas, they want to get to that spot where Colorado is, obviously. They've won 9 of their last 12 games going back to last year, and they've won 5 of the last 7 meetings against Colorado. So it's just a slight lean here. I don't want to look at the regulation price, so I would lay a little bit of juice if I had to play this one. It's not going to make my final card, but I would look to Vegas full money line as opposed to regulation here, because if Colorado does play a little tough, maybe this one does go to OT.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing, though. It's now two losses in a row for Colorado. They are getting a good price with them. But again, I've got this weird feeling they're going to have a 500 record, maybe even a losing record as an underdog this year, because I find that in these spots, there's going to be a reason why they're priced that way. Vito, what do you think, Colorado, Vegas?
Yeah, I think this is the second time this year when the Avalanche is as an underdog. The first
That's
time
right.
it was Flames.
Yep,
And
they lost. Yep.
Yeah, they lost that game. They started actually of a hot start, and I could expect actually also in this spot, since they had a game yesterday, they have again lost 2 games in a row, right? So I think they will carry some momentum here today. Perhaps they could have a good start of this game. And again, I think later in the game, Vegas might take over with the shots on net and so on. So for me, it's a stay off, I think, at the moment. I would actually look at that plus money with Avalanche. I just think that they are capable of winning any night. We just need to get the best out of them. So yeah, the way for me, I think I would go with Avalanche, and no official plays, but I like that over. I think the over could hit in this game.
All right, liking the over here in this one, and the Avalanche, they bounced back offensively. They just didn't look at their best, at their crispest offensively last night. Kyle, what about you, Colorado, Vegas?
I was actually going to say I like the over as well. I think Colorado's been in some high-scoring games. But I would, in terms of Colorado or Vegas, I think I would actually lean Colorado. Obviously, they've been struggling, have a little bit of that Stanley Cup slump, but they just lost to a not very good Kraken team last night. They've lost 2 in a row now. You got to think they're going to get up for this Vegas game. Obviously, one of their bigger rivalries as of late. So despite Vegas equally going to be wanting to win that game, I think Colorado just they need to play with a chip on their shoulder. It's not like you're just going into a back-to-back game against a whatever team. I think there's a lot more at stake here in terms of just winning that regular season battle between the two teams. So I would, with Colorado at plus 105, I think I would take that.
It might be a good night for McKinnon props because he only had an assist last night. That's pretty quiet by his standards. And usually when he's quiet one game, he's not the next. So
getting lots of shots too.
Yeah, exactly. So, and by the way, Georgiev and Thompson, by the way, is the projected goaltending matchup in this game tonight. So we'll see if that ends up being confirmed. Jari Merzlikin's confirmed for Pitt Columbus, Quick Kemper, LA Washington, Ottinger Allen confirmed Dallas Montreal. So that's where we're at with goaltending there. Just some updates with that. All right, we're down to our last 2 games. This massive card, Carolina, Calgary. Calgary minus 135, home favorite, 6 the total. Give me the Flames here. I love this team in this spot. Off a loss. So is Carolina. I expect Carolina's going to want to bounce back too, but I trust Calgary to be the team to bounce back. If you saw shots of Daryl Sutter, now maybe you can't tell. He's got that bitter beer face, we like to say all the time, but even when they're winning, but he was not impressed with that shoddy defense against Buffalo, and they got ripped apart defensively. Really uncharacteristic of the Calgary Flames, but Buffalo's a damn good hockey team, good young team. They're getting better. I think Calgary bounces back. Freddie Anderson, we'll see if he's in net, but he had a tough night against Edmonton, and the defense, which had been so good earlier in the season before the Edmonton game, they got ripped apart. And Markstrom's back in net after getting pulled against Buffalo. You know, I like good veteran goalies like that to bounce back after they've been pulled. I'd expect Jacob Markstrom to be better for the Calgary Flames tonight. And I will say this about the hot start defensively for Carolina. We have to keep in mind Columbus, San Jose, and Seattle were those 3 opponents. Then they played Edmonton. They finally wilted defensively and gave up some goals. Now they're playing another good team. So we'll see. Maybe that Carolina defense, which we know is pretty good, maybe a lot of the great results we saw in those first 3 games were the opponent as well. That it's a weaker offense as weaker teams. So I like Calgary in this spot. Bounce back at the Saddle Dome, minus 135. My pick to win the Western Conference and beat my pick to win the Stanley Cup. I've got Flames over the Rangers in the Stanley Cup final this year. Calgary minus 135 for me. Alex, Hurricanes, Flames.
Yeah, this is a bit of a G-check kind of game for Carolina, like you said, with the opponents they've had. You know, are they truly contenders or are they fraudulent? It's early to tell, but obviously playing a Calgary team off of the way that they played against Edmonton, they need to bounce back as well. So I think this is going to be a really good back and forth battle. I actually lean with the over 6, even though these are 2 teams I trust defensively, especially Calgary said having an uncharacteristically off night in that last game defensively. But I think this is going to be the offenses kind of willing their way to 6 goals. It won't be a freewheeling kind of – it won't be like Calgary-Edmonton where we see just goals galore, every couple of minutes. These teams are going to work hard against one another and find ways to score. So it's a lean to 6. I don't know if it'll make my official card, but I think this would be a fun one to watch late night tonight. And this would be a true test for both these clubs. Like I said, they're a lot of people's favorites to win their respective conferences and make it to the Cup final.
Yeah, no question. For Carolina props, Seth Jarvis, and Martin Natchez moving to the country, gonna meet me, Marty Natchez. I think he's gonna, he's been my prop guy for them. Seth Jarvis as well. For Calgary, Dylan Dubé, Elias Lindholm's a good look as well. I think this could be, I think Jonathan Huberdeau after a bad game. I trust him maybe to get going. Those would be some props I'd look at here. Vito, what about you? Carolina, Calgary.
Yeah, well, actually, I was looking to bet against this Carolina team when they are on the road because from what I see last year, I mean, this is a big home team. They are playing much better at home than they do on the road. I took a shot with Sharks actually in the first game on the money line. Well, fall off a little bit short. They lost
It
in
was
the
a
end
close
1
game,
to
though.
2.
Yep.
It was a close game. I mean, the under, I guess, was the right play, but whatever. And I bet against the Carolina, obviously, with Oilers. I took the money line. And now in this spot, I think also these are two very good teams. I mean, and any of these teams can win. I mean, Carolina can also win this game, but I just also like Flames better in this spot. I mean, at home they are dominant, and it's just the Carolina team, which on the road is not the same as they are at home. So I kind of want to stay away betting on Carolina when they're on the road, and that's pretty much it about it.
Kyle, how about you? Good game here, Carolina, Calgary, late night.
Yeah, definitely be a great game. Like everyone's been saying, two of the top teams, both coming off losses. I'm gonna go draw. Take a card out of Alex's book, and I think it's gonna be tightly played. I don't think it's gonna be high scoring, so maybe look at the under. But I don't know what the odds are on the draw, but
Around plus
Plus
320.
330.
Yeah, plus 3. I've seen as high as plus 340 a couple of shops.
Wow.
so
Little overtime for Kyle there. I like that he picked a draw. Every time Alex has mentioned a draw, I see this big smile. Goofy smile.
I was like,
He loves the draw bets. Like it's good. It's a good bet though. It is. It's a good value. So it's fitting that you picked a draw before we wrapped up this card today, Kyle. Like and maybe some overtime here with Carolina and Calgary. All right, final game. We've reached the summit here. If you will, this massive, 13 games on the card today, Buffalo and Vancouver. The Canucks minus 155, home favorites, 6.5 the total. Now, this is one of those spots where, and I say this, if you've been taking Buffalo, like I have, Calgary, I took the team total over. I didn't take the money line. I took the team total over 2.5. And I took Buffalo against Edmonton. I think I did that night as well. Yeah. But I've been riding Buffalo, either team total or money line. If you've been riding Buffalo, I say bet him again here because you've got a winless Vancouver team that cannot protect the lead. That's also in a spot where they're coming home off a long road trip as well. I get it. It's their home opener. They want to put on a good show here. First game at home. They should be, really amped up, but they're just not playing good enough hockey here. I like Buffalo. I am going to bet Buffalo, but here's my word of caution for you. Okay, Buffalo's just come off 2 huge wins against Calgary and Edmonton. It feels like clunker is right around the corner for the Sabres, and Eric Comrie was a big part of those 2 victories. Very good in net for Buffalo, and there's some hints going around based on what I'm reading that Don Granato is going to rest him tonight and go to Old Man Winter, Craig Anderson, potentially in net tonight for the Sabres. So that does concern me a little bit in this game that they rest the guy that's been just awesome in net for the Sabres on this road trip. So, but at the same time, there's no way I can lay $1.55 with Vancouver in their current plight. They're not protecting leads. They're not playing great defensively. Demko's been average as well, but a lot of it's been the bad play in front of them. I'd go with Buffalo here, plus 135, and I'd look at some props and a team total over with Buffalo as well, which is 2.5 again. You got to lay some juice here, 2.5 minus 145. But this is going to be a gold mine all year. Buffalo's team totals, whenever they're 2.5, they can score 3 goals. This team, Tage Thompson, goal props worth a look. Definitely Tuck at a hat trick. Can't go wrong there. Keep an eye on JJ Paterka. JJ Paterka. Watch out for him. That's a reference from. I can't even remember what that's from. It was some old show or movie I remember from way back in the day.
Yeah, it's an old TV show. I'm trying to think of it too, man. I know the reference. Yeah.
JJ Paterka. Yeah. He's been excellent so far for the Buffalo Sabres. He's been doing a nice job for them. And I think he's worth a prop look tonight in this game for Buffalo. So I'm going to split it up. I'm going to have half my stake on Buffalo team total over 2.5, half of it on plus 135. And I might even jump in on an over 6.5 full game as well, because Vancouver just keeps going over the total with blowing these leads and this horseshit defense and that they've had here so far this season. All right, Alex, final game. What do you think, Buffalo, Vancouver?
So I'm going with a little bit of a different kind of play. I'm going with Vancouver first period puck line. Laying the half goal plus 145 available at Bet Online right now. But I'm doing that in hopes of getting a 1-0 or hopefully even a 2-0 lead.
Hey, if you're going to bet Vancouver, bet them early. Yep.
And bet them early and then come right back on the other side and then try to get an even better price with Buffalo. I don't think they're going to just completely blow leads every single night. But I do think this could be a back and forth kind of game, and I think you'll be able to get a better value number on Buffalo. I wouldn't be shocked to see this. Honestly, I joke about 2-0, but I do think this could be a 1-0 Vancouver start. Like I said, Buffalo third game in 4 nights, and going with Craig Anderson in that. Looking at his numbers, and you have to take him with a bit of a grain of salt because he's played so long. He is 9-13-2 with a 311 goals against average, 896 save percentage. I think one of those two in that column might actually be a tie from way back in the day. So, like I said, you gotta really kind of look through and comb through that. But point being is that he's just not nearly as good of a goalie as he's been in the last few years. Comrie seems to be the guy who's slowly rising to take that number one job. And this could be a spot where Vancouver, with the home opener, with the bad losses, they need something to get the bad taste out of their mouth. If they're going to do it, they got to play a full 60 minutes, and it's got to start with another hot 20 minutes, something we have seen from them so far this season. So I'm going to go Canucks first period puck line, but potentially looking for a Buffalo live play at what should be an inflated price higher than 135.
Yeah, they had a 2-0 lead first period against Columbus, and they had 2-2 with Minnesota after the first period. So again, they've played strong early in games. It's been holding these leads in late in games where things have fallen apart. Vito, what do you think? Sabres, Canucks?
Yeah, well, I got nothing much on this game. I mean, Buffalo after winning. Give me a second, actually, to check. I think Buffalo won both of the games, right?
Swept Alberta, two of the best teams in the NHL, and they swept them.
So exactly, coming in high and now in this spot, I mean, they will feel confident about themselves, and they're gonna have a desperate Vancouver team against them. And even if Vancouver is coming off a road trip, and it should be a bad spot, but I mean that was a bad road trip, so let's not forget that. And I think Vancouver in this spot, they have to start win at some point in this season. And again, when next game they're gonna play is against Carolina, so that's gonna be maybe a hard one. So when to start to win? I mean, and last season they also had a bad start of the season. They fired the coach. They hired Bruce Boudreau, and now everybody was expecting a hot start from this team, and here we are. I mean, 0-4, right? Or was the record of 0-5? I think. So, yeah, it's just terrible. And, I mean, I have not pulled the trigger yet, but I think Vancouver should win this game. And only way how to look at it is the regulation. I mean, it's like plus 105. I'm still have concerns, obviously, about that and so on. But, yeah, I think I would look at Canucks here just because Sabres have just offered 2 big wins. And I think they might come here overconfident and they have a desperate Canucks team, which is going to give their best today.
There we go. I found out what that's from. The Durka. Team America, World Police.
Yeah, that's what it is. Okay.
I thought that's what it was too. I was trying to look it up. I was like, animated.
There we go. That's my new, because I'm trying to do some kind of funny song every now and then, or some catchphrase to get when I'm referencing a guy's name. And this one just stood out when I saw JJ Peterka for the Buffalo Sabres. So there you go. That's what it's from. I remember that movie.
It's a throwback movie.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, back to my youth. I was in high school when that shit came out. Oh my gosh. And I'm going to be 40 in 3 years. So, oh my gosh. It's a scary thought. All right, Kyle, final game here. What are you liking here? Sabres, Canucks.
Yeah, I don't know. This is an interesting one. So I typically don't like teams on their home openers. They specific, like you would think the opposite.
Just in general or off a road trip?
Just in general. Like I played in one in Chicago and you were waiting around for so long. Now, I also didn't see the ice for the first 7 minutes of the game. So I think the time between warm up and when I actually played my first shift was like over an hour. And it's not like you're like in the dressing room on the bike, keeping the legs fresh. Like you are just standing. And if you stand for an hour straight and then go and try and play an athletic sport, your legs just don't respond. So I agree with everything. Like Vancouver is going to be desperate. They like need to find a way to win. I'm sure they're getting shredded by the media in Vancouver. Going to want to show up for their home crowd. And Buffalo. So I don't know. I like it's another one of those weird situations where you got a desperate team, should be better, playing a team that's not so good. Like very similar to the Philly game. So I would probably stay away. I'm biased towards Buffalo. I played with Hinostroza for quite some time, and he's been off to a hot start. Want to see him do well, and I like the underdog too. So I would go with Buffalo, but that's more of like not a very educated bet, more just like
I played with Vinny Hinestroza, bet Buffalo.
there you go.
I'm translating it the way you're thinking right now, right? He's my guy, I bet them.
Exactly.
Wait, and you make a great point though about the ceremonies for opening night and different things, and maybe we start seeing teams do what the Detroit Red Wings did last night in Chicago. They didn't even come out for the anthem. They stayed in, and they knew it was going to be a big, long, drawn-out process. They knew they're going to, bring everybody on the ice. Of course, it's a big ovation for Kane and Taves as well. So maybe they sit in the locker room and rather than standing on the bench and going through the motions, maybe they kind of just doing that little part maybe reframes their mindset a little bit. You think we see teams do that a little bit more possibly?
So the game that I was there for was the banner raising ceremony, so it was extra long. And what was I gonna say? Yeah, so we were playing the Rangers. They were in the locker room. Literally came out in the first minute, scored. This is tough.
Well, you guys came back and won that one, right?
No, lost 3-2. Yeah, I mean they ended up evening out, but it was just like a super slow start that we didn't end up recovering from.
It's a great point, and that's why we love, when we have, obviously we've had Nate Rapensky, we've had Mike Hamilton, we've had, Kyle Bond on last year, we had Carl Alsner, Bobby Ryan, you go on down the list, all the players. It's great perspective. It makes you think, especially for bettors even, makes you think about the game through their lens, quite a bit, and experiences that maybe you wouldn't consider on your own, what they might be thinking, players that take the ice every night, but you hear stuff like that and it makes you think about it a different way. All right.
Glad I was able to add a little bit of value.
Of course you were. Absolutely.
For sure, definitely.
Now, before we wrap up and get to best bets, I know you're a big football guy, and we'll give you that chance. And by the way, I am very happy that I always say if the show goes much longer than 90 minutes, it's too long. And the fact we packed in 13 games with 4 people talking about every game and just around 90 minutes is great. Yeah. So this is what we aim for. We don't want to go too much longer past 90 minutes. But Kyle, you're a big football guy. Give us things you like in the NFL. For tomorrow, we'll give you that opportunity.
You're really throwing me on the spot when I have not prepared.
Oh wow!
What I do like is the San Fran KC game. I'm looking forward to watching that one. I'm just pulled up the schedule here.
The debut of Christian McCaffrey. They've got a lot of injuries.
Did they say he's going to play?
I don't know. I haven't heard. It's game time decision. I can't imagine they will. That's awfully quick to throw.
That's pretty quick. Yeah, that's pretty quick.
But if you could have him in as like goal line situations kind of thing, or just like in very unique situations,
up in the air, they say for McCaffrey tomorrow. Yeah.
You got to think the Bucs are gonna step up.
Carolina, Carolina.
Well,
they don't have a quarterback.
They just the Bucs have been very average as of late, so I would like to see them.
Hefty line move though. I opened 10.5 all week. We're now seeing 13.5. So
which not surprising. So as far as a betting play on that, not sure. But I don't know. I like the only thing the year when Patriots.
I mean, they're down to Scrub City at quarterback. It's got to be said, Carolina. PJ Walker and Jacob Eason. Neither guy can fucking play. Okay, I've seen now multiple weeks now. All right, they just can't.
And if Tom Brady actually starts hitting his receivers and they actually start executing and like putting up points, like that could be an absolute blowout.
Yeah, it could be 24-6 easy.
Yeah,
right. But if they don't figure it out, then who knows? What else we got?
And things aren't all right with the Bucs. That's a concern I have too. Like the way Brady's yelling at his offensive line and receivers in the Pittsburgh.
That's what I mean. You got to assume they sort it out. Like he always does seem to figure it out. But you got Giselle stuff going on. It's like
divorce. That's because he wants to keep playing. Giselle said, "Fuck you. You're not retiring. You're not staying with the family now. More like you promised. You still want to keep playing football." I think that's the crux of their.
And if he's projecting those problems on his offensive line, that's very troublesome.
Well, look, he took off. Right? He fucked off to go to owner Rob Kraft's wedding in New,
which was also a crazy play, right? Like,
yeah,
he
2 days before the game on a Friday, he goes to Robert Kraft's kid's wedding. Even Hoodie didn't do that. Hoodie won his game last week against Cleveland. They beat down the Browns. What's Brady? He didn't go to the wedding. Brady went to the wedding. What did he do? Shit the bed against the Steelers. That's what he did.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Bears Patriots. I don't know what the line is, but I feel like it could be kind of interesting.
Seeing
Alex
eights,
is a Bears fan, so we'll have a take on
yeah,
this.
we're seeing eights with Patriots, and honestly, that game screams under to me. Bears bringing a young quarterback like Justin Fields against Belichick. We've seen how Belichick defenses have devoured young QBs over the last 2 decades.
Yeah,
that could get ugly. So wouldn't lay 8 either with the Patriots. Probably a pass for me.
Is Mac Jones back or
no? It's Zappy, and honestly, Zappy might be the better option because Jones has fumbled the ball. Jones has thrown some interceptions. Zappy's a little bit more. Zappy's the guy I watched play Western Kentucky closely. He's a guy who doesn't make a lot of mistakes, despite being groomed from a high kind of up tempo offense. So,
yep. Only Alex and I would know how good Bailey Zappi was coming into this year because we watched Western Kentucky college football. So there you go. We know all about Bailey.
You guys aren't surprised. You guys aren't surprised to see him thriving.
No, I'm not.
Not really.
He's got a pretty good arm.
Better than Brian Hoyer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so.
Definitely. I agree.
They made the right move, giving him the start. So there you go. A little NFL talk to wrap up the show.
And the Cincy game could be interesting.
Love that over.
Yeah, I like the over there, Atlanta. And Atlanta has covered every point spread this year. Perfect ATS. I think they will again. Cincinnati's winning games, but not easily. They barely beat New Orleans last week. Every win's been close for the most part.
But they've been getting better. I feel like they're trending.
They are. I agree with that. I still like the Falcons there and over the total. All right, good stuff. Great show. Kyle, we'll get you back on later this season for sure. And I know weekends is best for you, so we'll get you back on a Saturday or Sunday in the near future. All right, best bets to wrap things up. It's been a long show. Let's put a kibosh on this and wrap it up. Alex, what do you think here for best bet today?
We'll actually get some better value now since I gave this play out about an hour ago. But we'll go with Penguins and the Blue Jackets. First period over 2. I'm seeing plus 110s and even some plus 115s around. So I think that's going to be a high scoring first period. Somebody mentioned in the chat with Blue Jackets 0-4 in the first period. They've struggled to get things rolling that first 20, and we've seen the offense be red hot for the Pens. So let's go Pittsburgh and CBJ. First period over 2 plus 110. That's my best bet tonight.
There you go. Pittsburgh, Columbus, over 2 first period. Best bet for Alex B. Smith. Vito, best bet.
First of all, Devils just now scored. I mean, that took them forever. So many scoring chances. But finally, Sharangovic opens the scoring there.
Nice.
And yeah, one more bet. I have actually just now the Rangers for tomorrow in regulation at minus 105. So if somebody has the line open, I think that might drop. And today, well, since Devils already scored, I cannot go with that. Should decide between regulation or Ottawa regulation, but I think what's the price for Ottawa regulation? I think it's pretty small. Where we have Ottawa, well, it's 1.65 in my book. So let's take a shot. I will go with the actual.
Minus 165 in regulation. Ottawa?
No, that's 1.65. I have European odds.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's like minus 140, right? Something like that.
Yeah, you can get that in some spots. Yeah.
Well, if that's okay for the best bet, give me that. Give me odd. I will go with cents.
Yeah, it's whatever you like most. It's whatever price.
Yeah,
whatever
that's around
like
minus 155. If you said 1.64 in decimal, I think do a little
it's around minus 155 in regulation. So we'll give you that. Ottawa in regulation.
Yeah, give me Ottawa.
Ottawa in regulation, minus 155 against Arizona for best bet. All right, Kyle, I think you did good with these last time. What do you like here for best bet?
So the Bruins bet's out, right?
Yeah, that started already. Yeah.
It's looking
Newsflash, that game's playing already. Yes.
It's looking good. What's the Leafs money line?
It's minus 170, or you could go in regulation for a better price, minus 110.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with my Leafs.
There you go. We'll give you minus 110 in regulation. We'll force them to actually get shit done in 3 periods tonight. So there you go.
I like,
Toronto in
they
regulation.
gotta step up at some point. It's tough to watch.
Yeah, you think.
Well, we'll see. Bring 2 good games. Hey, you never know with that group. By the way, if you got to rewind to some of these shows we did in the past. Go back to June 1st, 2021, because I actually sent this to Jay Rosehill, who's joining us on Tuesday. And it was a rant of all time for me about the Leafs. They had just got knocked out by Montreal, that embarrassing 7-game loss where they crapped the bed and shit the bed and blew a 3-1 lead. I'm ripping on the fans. I'm ripping on Mitch Marner. It was at the time making more money than Nate McKinnon. That's obviously no longer the case now since McKinnon got his big contract in the offseason. But search it on YouTube, The Ice Guys, June 1, 2021. Memorable show. Memorable rant.
I'll go check it out. No, as much as I'm from,
and I spent 25 minutes, Kyle, talking. Alex didn't even get a fucking word. Lose my mind.
It's
absolutely.
They're hilarious to watch. As much as I want to see them win, it's also hilarious to see them lose. I don't know. Yes. So actually, maybe that's not the best bet.
They'll make you angry. They'll make you cry. They'll make you laugh. The Leafs. That's what they do to their fans yearly. All right, my best bet. We're gonna go. I fell into a burning ring of fire. I went down, 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 and the flames went higher. And it burns, burns, burns. The ring of fire. The ring of fire. Calgary Flames minus 135 against the Carolina Hurricanes. We're coming back to the well with them tonight to get the job done against the Carolina Hurricanes. And a little Johnny Cash on the way out. Best bet here for Saturday. That's a wrap. What a show. Thanks to everybody. Alex, Vito, Kyle, great job as our guest today. Hit the like button on the way out. We gave you an hour, 40 minutes. Can't do better than that. For Alex, for Vito, for Kyle, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Saturday. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will be back tomorrow, Sunday, noon Eastern, for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by National Hockey Now.